Hi there, my name is Valentine, and in this video I wanted to introduce you to a great web development and testing tool for working with APIs. It is called Postman and it's available for Windows, macOS and Linux. And just in case you have a Chrome plugin called Postman still installed in your browser, make sure you remove that and install the standalone application, as the browser plugin is no longer supported and updated. In this tutorial I wanted to show you how you can get started with Postman by using a real-world REST API. Postman is an easy-to-use tool and ideal if you're writing your own API. So if you're writing server-side code in a technology like PHP or Java or Node.js or whatever you're using out there, and you come to a point where you have something ready and you would like to see how it's working. With Postman you can immediately start interacting with your backend and get some feedback on how things are going. If the API is working the way you expect it to, you can test different parameters, different authentication methods, setting headers, cookies, whatever your application needs to. All this without building client-side, all this without writing any front-end code. And this can not only speed the development time, but the experience shows that it's much easier to find bugs early in the development stage. Now you don't have to build your own API to take advantage of Postman. Imagine that you want to use the third-party API in your application. Let's say, for example, Facebook or Google's API or whatever API is out there. And with Postman you can get a feeling on how that API is performing. You can easily check on what's the information that's available, how you can interact with it, and you can do all this without writing a single line of code. And this is quite powerful because, again, it really improves the development time, and you know in advance that the API is working in a certain way, and there will be no big surprise when you actually start using it. Now, it really doesn't matter how you plan to use Postman, as long as the API you are planning to use is an HTTP-based RESTful API. So if you're excited about learning Postman, keep watching this video and I will guide through it. Once you open the application, it will probably look like this. So with Postman you can create an account and everything you do inside Postman will be saved and synchronized with the Postman servers. So it's a great way not to lose your work. You don't have to do it in the beginning, so you can just click take me straight to the app. It's right here below, a bit grayed out. And just in case you want later to use that functionality, here in the corner you will see here this sign in button, and once you click it you will have the possibility of signing up for an account. Now the next time we'll open the application and it will look like this, and Postman is actually divided in different sections and I want you to go through them. The most important one, and probably the first one where you will start, is this section. And this is called the request builder. And it's called the request builder because it actually offers you all the information that you need in order to build a request. Once you have a request and you click this send button, the request will be sent and you will see here below a response. And we'll look into that a bit later. Once you have a couple of requests, you will be able to see here on the left panel a history. And you will see a history of all the requests you previously sent. And you have the possibility of going back in history just as with a normal browser and resend specific request. All around the interface you will find other shortcuts as well, but we will deal with them in another video. Now I wanted to demystify Postman right from the beginning and just point out that Postman is nothing more than a browser, but which exposes a lot more functionality that a normal browser usually would not show you. So the thing with Postman is that you can create a specific HTTP request with a request builder, this section here. And you have full control by setting the request method, address, any headers that you need, and the body as you need them to. You'll also notice that you have the possibility of using multiple tabs and closing them. So the first thing would be to just type in google.com, hit the send button, and see what happens. Now, as you can see in the section below where the response is, you will have actually the response from the Google server. And you will see here that the first tab is already selected and this is the body. So this is basically what you normally see in a browser if you call google.com. Now, so this is actually showing the HTML code when running google.com. But if I click this preview button, I will be able to see a much nicer version of that website. Now, this doesn't really help us a lot, but it gets you an understanding on how Postman actually works and what's the functionality. Usually you would not use Postman for interacting with Google or any other website like Facebook or something like that, but you will use a more specific address where they're exposing an API in a much nicer format. But still, since we are at google.com, let's play a bit and actually do a query. And we're going to do that query by actually using Postman. So if I change the address here to search, I will be able to add a query parameter. And let's search for Postman. I submit this again, and now I should get a results page with Postman. Still, this is not very exciting, but what happens a lot is a lot of resources are being generated by using query parameters. And as you can see here, the query parameters in this case is Q and it equals to Postman. And the first nice feature that you can use in Postman is actually this button here, params. And once you click it, you will see a much nicer interface for adding parameters. So let's imagine that we have another parameter called lang. I don't even know if this exists, but let's say lang US or something like that. And as soon as I have typed it, you will see here that the address above has changed. So the end has been added to the address, and now it reads lang equals US. And if I submit this exact address will go to Google. At the same time, I have the possibility of editing previous values, and you will quickly see the value of this. If you have here a long address with a lot of parameters, using this panel, you can add other parameters, you can change the values, and you can also disable them. So everywhere in Postman, you will see this checkbox. Once you tick it, you will see that the parameter will disappear and it will not longer be added to the address. And once you need it back, you can just edit it back again. The same goes with this bulk editing functionality. You'll see it in Postman all over the place for different things. And if you click this, you will see this probably not so nice interface anymore, but this allows you, for example, to select everything, to copy it, to switch back to the previous mode, go to a new request, open the params, open the bulk edit functionality, pasting it, and you will have the same parameters you had in the previous request. So it's a nice way to copy things around if you need that too. Now this lang parameter is something that I really don't need, so I'll just delete it. And actually the query, the way I have it, looks pretty good. So I'm just gonna click on save, and I can save actually this request for later use. And in order to do that, I first need to create a collection. I'll just call it Google. And inside that collection, I will save this. Now the default request name is actually the address that you've called, but I can just give it another name. So I name it Postman Search. I'm gonna save it to the Google collection. And once I do that, you'll see here on the left side, there are two panels. One is the history, which shows all the addresses that have been used. And the second one is collections. And this gives information on different collections. And one of this collection is Google. And even if I close this tab here, I will still be able to see this request inside the collection. And I will be able to resend it over and over again as often as I need, and it will not get lost. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if so, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to this channel for more news and updates on Postman. If you want to learn more about Postman and use it at its full potential, I invite you to check out my online course on Postman. I have tried to structure everything you need to know about Postman in an easy to follow online course. There I will take you from learning how to use Postman for creating requests to writing tests, using variables, dealing with authentication, and eventually towards using Postman as a solution to fully automate your REST API testing process by using tools such as Newman, Jenkins, and any other continuous integration tools. During the entire course, I will keep you engaged with quizzes and assignments and provide you personal feedback on how you're doing. Make sure you check this video description for a link, and I'm totally looking forward to seeing you inside. Now, Google hasn't been so excited to use so far, so for that reason, let's move on to something more exciting. And I'm currently at asana.com, which is like a project task management software. You can register for a free account here, and the idea would be to register for a free account and get access to the APIs so that you can create a task inside the workspace. And this will be the interface. Now, in order to interact with the Asana API, we need to get a token. We need to get an authorization token. Usually how the APIs work is that they don't ask for your username and password, but they generate some kind of token, or they redirect you to a different website where you can log in yourself and then you came back to that application. And in this case, it's pretty similar. So from here, I'm going to go to my profile settings, go to the apps tab. I'm going to click on manage developer apps. And here I have the possibility of creating a personal access token. And this is a access token that grants access to my account. And it's the quickest way on how you can use this particular API. I'm going to say the token is for Postman, just that I later remember for what I created it. So let's just copy it to the clipboard and go back to Postman. Now I'm going to close the tab that I previously created, and I'm going to type an address, and that's the address of the API. In case you're wondering how do I know that, I have read the developer documentation on how to use the API, and this is why I already know the API in advance. This is what you will normally do. You would read first the API to see how to interact with it. So the first thing that we'll try to do is to get the workspaces associated to my account. And let's see what happens generally if I just submit this request as it is. And you will see here, because I'm interacting with an API, the format of the response has changed. So what you see here is JSON, and this is the pretty version, and you can switch in between different ones. So this raw response, which doesn't look so nice. This is actually the pretty version, and just in case it gets a bit larger, you have there the possibility of collapsing it and making it smaller. And what's basically telling me is that I'm not authorized. So the token that I just generated, I need to provide it to the application with making that request. And in the case of this application, this is done by using a header. So if I'm switching here at the request builder and in the headers tab, I'll be able to add an authorization header. And as soon as I start typing, you will see here some auto-completion happening. And I will select authorization, and the value will be bearer. And then I'm gonna paste in the token that I just had. Now, if I resubmit this request again, we'll see that it looks a bit different. So not only does the request succeeded, and you will see here the status code, it's 200, it's success. Let's just remove the authorization for a second. This was a 401 unauthorized status code. So it's a good sign, and actually I'm getting the information that's relevant for my account. So this is my account. This is the workspace that I basically have available. Now, what I wanted originally to do is create a simple tasks inside this project. And the API works in a way that you first need to know your workspace ID in order to create a task inside that workspace. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the same address, and I'm going to open a different tab, paste this address again, and from the previous response, I will take this value, just simply add it after workspaces, and then tasks. Because I'm trying to create a task, the HTTP method that's required for achieving that is actually the post method. So from this list of a lot of values, I will select the second one, post. And as soon as I have done that, another tab is no longer grayed out, and that is the body. And at the body, you can actually send data. And if you imagine a normal website, every time you submit a form, you most likely do a post request to the backend server. And this is exactly what I'm trying to do. And in this case, the resource that we are going to create is a new task. So let's simply give for that task a name. And as you can see here, I'm in form data. I'm going to enter a new key, and this is given by the API. So if I want to create a name for that tasks, I need to provide a key name. And this will be the first task that I have. Now again, if I simply submit this request, it will not automatically work because I am missing the authentication. So I'm going to switch back to this tab. Just going to go in the bulk edit mode, copy this value, switch back here. Go to the headers, bulk edit, paste this again. And now if I send, my task will be created. So see here 201, the status code. And if I go back to asana.com, you will see here on all items that I have created my first task. Another thing I wanted to show you is this address. So in the example with Google, we had this query parameters. But in essence, this workspace ID is still sort of like a parameter that can change. So we're going to click the params option again. And just going to copy that. And instead of that, I'm going to type in workspace ID with a column in front of it. And as soon as I start with typing it with column in front, we'll see that's available in this panel with params. And once I do this, I can paste the project ID value here. And once the request will be run, this will be automatically be replaced by Postman. So it's a nice way to add values here and to be able much easily to change them later in case you need that. And just to demonstrate you that this is actually working, first task. I submit it and this worked as well. So the second task appeared. So let's recap for a bit. What you can do with Postman is you can select your HTTP method, get, post, put, delete, whatever you need. Mostly you'll use get and post and put and delete probably. Once you select a method like post, you will have access to a body. And in this case, we just used form data, but a lot of APIs actually require you send them data in a JSON format. And in case you need to do that, and this is not supported by the Asana API, but I just wanted to show you how it will look like. You're going to click this raw radio button, and from here you can just select application JSON. And once you have that, you can just start writing JSON. So for example, exactly what's coming here below as a response. This is how you can create your request as well. So it doesn't have to be exactly this request, but this is where you will put your JSON. Same as I did by Google, I can simply save this request. And let's call this workspaces. Another nice feature we can take advantage of is variables. Now in Postman, there are a lot of variables that you can use, and I just wanted to show you one of them, and that's called collection variables. And it usually makes sense to put in a variable things that may later change. And for example, the access token, the personal access token we got is maybe something you would like to revoke at a certain period, or maybe it's not valid anymore. And if you have a lot of requests, it does make a lot of sense not to reuse it all over the place, but to just store it once in a variable and just use the variable where this is needed. So let me quickly inspect the header. I'm gonna copy this value and only the token that I had. And if I click the collection, I will see here an edit button. And right here at the end, there's this variable tab. Let's call this Asana token. It's the value. And now the request builder. If I need to actually access the access token, I can do that. And for that matter, I can do that for any variable. And to do that, I'm gonna use curly brackets, so double curly brackets. And this is your variable. And the same goes for creating a task. Don't use this string type. So this is exactly the syntax on how you will use that variable. And just to exemplify that it works, if I hit the send button, it will work just as previously has. So it's a nice way on how you can organize things and to be sure that you're not repeating yourself. Last but not least, another important feature you should know about in Postman is the console. And this is hidden right here at the bottom. And if you click this button, another window will open. And in this window, Postman will log any request that you send. So let me exemplify this. If I submit a request and hit the send button, but I want to make sure, I want to inspect exactly what happened with that request. I can switch to the Postman Console. And you will see here that the first request is this GET request. And I have the possibility of really looking into what are the request headers. What have I sent? So for example, you will see here at the authorization, this is exactly the token that I used as a variable. And additionally, you will be able to see what came back from the server. So this is the response body from the server. It provides a more technical overview of the information. Most of the information we'll see in Postman as well. But in case something is not working, or for example, these variables are not working as you expect them to work, it's a nice way on how you can inspect exactly what is going on. Now that we come to an end of this introduction to Postman, here are some ideas on what you can do next with Postman. Now, in the request builder, you will see that there are two more available tabs. One of them is this pre-request script, and the other one is this tests. In the pre-request script, you can write custom JavaScript code that is executed before the request happens. And in combination with variables, it allows you to control certain aspects and values of the request going out and to really be able to create complex scenarios and workflows. In the test tab, you can write your own tests, which allows you to check that the API is returning the same status code and body every time you run the request. So Postman can help you even more to make sure that there are no regressions in your code. And a simple example would be going to the tests. Right here on the right, you will see some snippets. And one of the snippets that it's quite easy and to use is the status code is 200. And I'm not going to go exactly into what happens, but the next time we'll hit the send button, you'll be able to see here that the tab test results has changed. And now you have a test that is passing. So in case something is not right with this request, for example, if I remove the authorization header and submit the button again, well, actually this test will be marked as failed because you expected the request to be at 200, but you got a 401. So let me quickly show you an overview of Postman. Now with Postman, you can really go in different ways. So what I've showed you so far is how to do manual API testing. So basically how to explore an API. And I quickly touched the part with scripts and that you can create workflows and that you can create tests. And once you have some workflows and some tests, you can really go into direction of automatic API testing. And automatic API testing basically means that you have a collection of requests that are running in a particular order. Each request is testing something, so at a minimum, we'll test that the status code is whatever that scenario specifies it should be. And you will run this collection of requests over and over again without any manual intervention. And there are a lot of tools to help you with that. One of them is the Postman monitors, which is hosted at Postman and sort of calls your collection every time from their servers and sees that it's still working properly as you expect them to. And with a tool like Newman, you can actually go in the direction of automation by integrating with Jenkins as a continuous integration server or with any other integration server that your organization might be using. And this is direction of automatic API testing. As I said, the other direction was of the manual tests, but there are other things that Postman can help you with. So with Postman, you can really document your API and create some example requests and some example responses and really generate some HTML documentation that somebody can look at and easily import the Postman collection and see how it's going. If you're working in a team, probably collaboration is a big thing. And with this account and with the Pro version, you can really integrate Postman in your team so that you have multiple people working on the same collections and instantly sharing the changes that they're working on. And additionally, what Postman can do as well, among other things that are not on this slide, is to provide you a mock server in case you're having any external systems that you depend upon, but you want just to improve your testing infrastructure. You can just mock those requests and Postman can help you with stuff like that as well. Now, I hope this introduction to Postman was helpful to you. Thank you for watching this introduction to Postman, and hopefully this is just enough to get you started. If you have any feedback or questions, make sure you post them in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if so, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to this channel for more news and updates on Postman. If you want to learn more about Postman and use it at its full potential, I invite you to check out my online course on Postman. I have tried to structure everything you need to know about Postman in an easy to follow online course. There I will take you from learning how to use Postman for creating requests to writing tests, using variables, dealing with authentication, and eventually towards using Postman as a solution to fully automate your REST API testing process by using tools such as Newman, Jenkins, and any other continuous integration tools. During the entire course, I will keep you engaged with quizzes and assignments and provide you personal feedback on how you're doing. Make sure you check this video description for a link, and I'm totally looking forward to seeing you inside.